What would you do if you came face to face with something you couldn't explain? On Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories, every episode features a real person sharing their true encounter with the supernatural moments that changed how they see the world forever. These aren't fictional stories or dramatizations, just first-hand accounts of what people have seen, heard, and experienced in the unknown. Some are unsettling, some are emotional, and some will stay with you forever. Search Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories wherever you listen to podcasts and start a paranormal journey like never before.
I'm Annie from Boston, Massachusetts.
And I'm Johanna from Vienna, Austria. We are the hosts of Fresh Hell, your international podcast that covers murder, mystery, and the macabre throughout history. Are you interested in the 3,569 ways your household could have killed you in the Victorian era?
Do you know how malaria and syphilis played a role in the John List family murders?
And have you ever wondered what Prince Albert's sex chair had to do with the murder of Stanford White? Okay, nothing. It had nothing to do with it. We're still telling you about it, though.
It's a pretty great sex chair. If you're looking for another show that talks about Ted Bundy, this is probably not the podcast for you. But if you're looking for two women that cover lesser-known cases from all over the world with a lot of background information.
So much background information that you will rock your local pub quiz from now on.
Then find Fresh Hell Podcast on your favorite podcast app.
We also have German cannibals.
See you soon.
Tschüss.
Japan is a country famous for its ghosts. Spirits said to linger in tunnels, forests, schools, and abandoned buildings. But some of the most unsettling hauntings are whispered about in places built not for fear, but for intimacy. Tonight, we step behind discreet neon signs and automated doors into one of Japan's most uniquely mysterious spaces, the Love Motel. These short-stay hotels are deeply woven into modern Japanese culture. Yet, many outsiders only know them for their flashy themes and hourly rates. What happens, though, when passion, secrecy, and tragedy collide? Across Japan, certain love motels have gained chilling reputations, whispered about by urban explorers, paranormal enthusiasts, and locals who refuse to get a room there ever again. I'm Kevin O'Shea, and tonight on Supernatural Japan, Haunted Love Motels. We're going to kick things off this evening with a little tale. The hallway smelled faintly of dust and something older, something damp that had been sealed away too long. My flashlight beam cut a narrow tunnel through the darkness as I moved slowly down the third floor of the abandoned Love Motel. Room 302 was at the very end. The door was already slightly open. I remember thinking that was strange. Most of the other doors on this floor were either locked tight or hanging crooked on broken hinges. But this one looked almost inviting. The number plate, 302, was still firmly attached, the brass dulled but intact. I pushed the door gently. It opened without resistance. Inside, the room was frozen in time. A large circular bed sat in the center, its vinyl surface cracked and gray with dust. The mirrored ceiling above it was clouded with age, reflecting my flashlight in fractured, dim fragments. In the corner, a heart-shaped bathtub sat bone dry. And the air felt wrong. Not cold exactly, just heavy. I stepped inside anyway, and that's when I heard it. A soft electronic chirp. I froze. For a moment, I told myself it was just the building settling. Old wiring, maybe. But then it came again. A short, sharp beep. I slowly turned towards the wall. The control panel beside the bed, the old-fashioned one with the colored buttons, was dark when I first entered the room. Now, one of the lights was blinking. Slowly, steadily. Beep, beep, beep. I hadn't touched it. I was absolutely certain of that. The sound seemed unnaturally loud in the silence, echoing off the mirrored ceiling. My flashlight beam trembled slightly as I slept closer. The plastic around the button was yellowed with age, the edges thick with dust, except one small spot, right over the blinking light, where the dust looked disturbed, like someone had recently pressed it. Behind me, the door moved. Not a slam, not even a creak, just the soft, unmistakable sound of it shifting a few centimeters further open. I didn't turn around because in that moment, standing in the middle of room 302, I had the very strong feeling I wasn't alone anymore. To understand the ghost stories, we first need to understand the setting. Love hotels, known in Japanese as rabu hoteru, are short-stay accommodations designed primarily for couples seeking privacy. Their origins stretch back to the Edo period, when discreet tea houses and inns quietly provided space for romantic encounters away from prying eyes. But the modern love hotel truly began to take shape in post-war Japan. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, rapid urbanization and small living spaces created a very practical problem. Many young adults lived with parents or in cramped company housing. Privacy was rare, and love hotels filled the gap. They offered anonymity, flexible hourly rates, and an environment where couples could briefly escape the pressures of everyday life. What began as a practical solution soon evolved into something much more elaborate. To understand why so many love motels, and later haunted love motel stories, emerged, we need to talk about one of the most extraordinary periods in modern Japanese history: the bubble era. Japan's economic bubble, often called the bubble economy, lasted roughly from the mid-1980s to the early 1990s. And during this time, Japan experienced explosive economic growth, fueled by soaring real estate and stock prices. Money flowed freely, corporate expense accounts were generous, and consumer culture reached a kind of glittering excess that still fascinates observers today. Cities like Tokyo and Osaka pulsed with late-night energy. Entertainment districts expanded, and the appetite for novelty, luxury, and fantasy experiences grew rapidly. And love hotels, already established, transformed dramatically during this boom. During the bubble era, many love motels reinvented themselves as elaborate fantasy spaces. Owners competed fiercely to attract customers, and the results could be astonishing. Rooms were designed as European castles, tropical islands, space stations, or medieval dungeons. Rotating beds, mirrored ceilings, karaoke systems, and high-end jacuzzis became common features. And some properties looked more like theme parks than hotels. The number of love hotels across Japan surged during these years. And for many couples, especially in dense urban areas, visiting a love hotel was not considered especially taboo. It was simply part of modern city life. Business travelers use them, married couples use them, young dating couples use them. At the height of the bubble, love hotels were doing brisk business nearly around the clock. But prosperity also meant rapid construction, and fierce competition. Some hotels cut corners. Others opened in marginal locations. And when the bubble burst in the early 1990s, the effects were swift and severe. As Japan entered its long economic stagnation, many love hotels found themselves overextended. Properties closed. Buildings were abandoned. Neon signs went dark. And abandoned buildings, as we know from Japanese folklore, have a way of attracting stories. There is a reason love motels appear so often in Japanese urban legends. These buildings are emotionally charged environments, with anonymity and intensity colliding. People enter for deeply personal reasons, romance, secrecy, and sometimes heartbreak. Unlike ordinary hotels, guests rarely form lasting memories of the space beyond the moment itself. And when something tragic does occur in such a private environment, information is often fragmentary. Rumors spread easily. Over time, speculation hardens into legend. Add the visual strangeness of themed rooms and the quiet isolation of soundproofed walls, and it becomes easy for the imagination to run wild. In short, love motels are almost perfectly designed to become ghost story magnets.
Get ready with me for day 5 of my Pilates challenge and then a casual work from home day. I really want to be comfy today, so I'm going to go with my new Steady State set from Lululemon. I went for the matching hoodie and sweats. I love layering them over workout clothes, especially for early morning classes. The fabric, I believe it's called Superloft, is so soft on the outside and fleecy on the inside. Obsessed. Anyway, that's the vibe for today. See you next time. Shop the new Steady State Superloft now at lululemon.com.
Deep in rural Nagano Prefecture sits one of Japan's most talked about abandoned love motels, the Seline, sometimes called the Seline Love Hotel. Today it stands as a decaying haikyo ruin, slowly being reclaimed by time and weather. What made this building famous was not simply its abandonment, but what urban explorers reported finding inside. Photographs circulated online showing disturbing graffiti throughout the rooms, including repeated drawings of a pregnant woman and strange, unsettling messages. The imagery was eerie enough on its own, but as often happens, darker rumors soon followed. One widely circulated story claims that a young woman became pregnant after a traumatic encounter at the motel and later took her own life, her spirit supposedly lingering within the building. Now, it is important to emphasize that there is no confirmed evidence supporting this story. Like many haunted love motel tales, the legend appears to have grown after the building was already abandoned. Still, visitors frequently describe the same unsettling sensations: an oppressive silence, sudden chills, and the persistent feeling of being watched in certain rooms. Whether paranormal or psychological, the Seline Love Motel has become one of Nagano's most infamous modern ghost locations. Another frequently mentioned location in haunted love motel lore is the abandoned Akasaka Love Motel near Lake Tama in Tokyo. Like many properties born during the boom years, it once offered colorful theme rooms and short stay options for couples seeking privacy. Eventually, however, the hotel fell into disrepair and was later demolished. Its supernatural reputation centers on persistent rumors about one particular suite, sometimes referred to by explorers as the haunted room. Visitors reported strange sensations, lights behaving erratically, and unexplained heaviness in the air, and shadowy shapes appearing in photographs. Now, what makes this case especially interesting is that no confirmed crime or death has ever been publicly tied to the property. The haunting reputation appears to have grown almost entirely from atmosphere and suggestion. In many ways, the Akasaka legend perfectly illustrates how haunted love motel folklore often forms in Japan. A mysterious setting, a few unsettling experiences, and a story that grows with each retelling. To fully understand why haunted love motel stories continue to circulate today, we need to talk about a uniquely modern Japanese phenomenon, haikyo. The word haikyo literally means ruins or abandoned places. And over the past 2 decades, it has grown into a full subculture of urban exploration across Japan. What began as a niche hobby among photography enthusiasts has evolved into a widespread fascination with the country's forgotten spaces. From shuttered theme parks, to empty schools, to decaying hospitals, and, of course, abandoned love motels. Japan's economic shifts after the collapse of the bubble economy left behind a surprising number of these sites. Strict property laws and complex ownership situations sometimes meant that buildings were simply left to decay rather than demolished. Add Japan's humid climate, which accelerates the process of visible deterioration, and many haikyo locations quickly developed an atmosphere that feels frozen in time. By the early 2000s, photographers and bloggers began documenting these places online. Carefully composed images of peeling wallpaper, dust-covered furniture, and silent hallways spread across Japanese websites and later global social media. The aesthetic, sometimes called ruin porn in Western contexts, resonates strongly with audiences. These were not ancient ruins. They were modern spaces, abruptly abandoned, still filled with the traces of everyday life. Love motels became especially compelling targets for haikyo explorers. Their themed rooms, mirrored surfaces, and surreal decor already carried a dreamlike quality, even when new. In decay, they often felt uncanny, in a way few other buildings can match. Heart-shaped bathtubs sit dry and dusty, neon fixtures hang dark and crooked, wallpaper meant to evoke romance, curls and peels in the silence. And in recent years, the rise of YouTube, TikTok, and long-form exploration channels has brought even more attention to these locations. Content creators, both in Japan and internationally, have documented overnight stays in abandoned buildings, paranormal investigations, and silent walkthroughs of liminal spaces. The algorithm, it seems, loves eerie emptiness. The growing visibility has had an interesting side effect. The more footage circulates online, the more certain locations gain reputations, sometimes deserved and sometimes entirely imagined. A strange noise caught on camera, a shadow in low light, or even just the unsettling geometry of an empty themed room can quickly become framed as something paranormal. In folklore terms, we are watching modern urban legends form in real time. There is something also deeper at work psychologically. Abandoned spaces occupy what anthropologists call liminal territory, places that feel caught between past and present, use and disuse, memory and forgetting. Love motels built for intensely private human moments and then suddenly left empty sit squarely in this uncanny zone. Whether one approaches haikyo exploration as photography, adventure, historical curiosity, or ghost hunting, one thing is clear. Japan's abandoned love hotels are no longer just forgotten buildings. Through the lens of urban explorers and content creators, they have become stages where modern ghost stories continue to evolve. And every time someone pushes open one of those dusty doors, the legend grows a little bit stronger. While many haunted love motel stories are built on rumor, real crimes in Japan's entertainment districts have occasionally reinforced public unease about anonymous hourly hotels. During the late Showa period and into the bubble years, several high-profile incidents occurred in and around love hotels, leading to increased security measures and surveillance. Even when a specific building is not haunted, these real events contribute to the broader cultural atmosphere surrounding love motels. In folklore terms, reality and rumor begin to blur together, creating fertile ground for modern ghost stories. Love motels were built to provide privacy, fantasy, and escape. During the glittering years of Japan's bubble economy, they reached a level of extravagance that bordered on the surreal. But when the boom ended, many of these neon-lit dream spaces were left behind in silence. Today, some still operate quietly across Japan, others stand abandoned, slowly decaying at the edges of cities and along forgotten highways. And around a few of them, the stories continue to grow. Maybe it's just the architecture and atmosphere, maybe it's the power of suggestion, or maybe, in rooms where so many intense human moments unfolded, something really did stay behind after checkout. Thanks for listening to Supernatural Japan. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to help our show grow, please leave a rating and a review or a comment wherever you listen to the podcast. That really does make a difference, and it helps new people find the show. Now, follow us on social media, especially on Instagram at Supernatural Japan, to see photos of love motels and lots of other things we talked about in this episode and other episodes. You can also visit supernaturaljapan.com and see all of our social links, our blog where I write stories about spooky and creepy things and interesting things all around Japan. And of course, if there's a contact form where you can get in touch with me and the podcast at the bottom of supernaturaljapan.com. You can also drop me an email anytime you'd like at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Please share your supernatural and cool, creepy stories with me. Or just say hello. I'd love to hear from you. Now, premium memberships are now available with loads of exclusive content on Patreon. If you love Supernatural Japan, then you're really going to love this, folks. There are 3 tiers that will bring you the Japan Ghost Stories podcast, the Spicy Wasabi podcast, and these are exclusive only on Patreon, and lots of great video content and video versions of the podcast you can only see on Patreon. The link is in the show notes and on our website at supernaturaljapan.com. You can also support the show with a one-time donation at Buy Me a Coffee. The links are in the show notes and on our website. And that's it for this episode of Supernatural Japan. I'm Kevin O'Shea, and I really want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to the show. Sleep well tonight, everyone, because somewhere in Japan, a neon sign is still flickering, and a door that should be empty might not be.